Hello, so this is the video to continue, and so today I want to talk about the Euler's number. It's an exponential number. It's a number. The meaning of exponential, it means of an increase. And just as back in Matthew 27, Joseph, who buried Jesus, the meaning of Joseph means God will increase, and that's of an increase of the bride. And there's definitely a direct link to the Euler's number and the transformation of the bride, and also especially on the timing of the sixth seal. And I've been led to the number, Euler's number. It's 2.71828 4590 45 and so on. I just want to show that the first set of the 18 and 28, it's of the sixth seal. It's and the second set of the 18 and 28, it's of the seventh seal. So it's the sixth and the seventh seal, and that's why there's two sets of them. And God's clock has decoded the number 1828. This is the article number 67, and so even the date itself, on the 28th of November 2018, well, the two different time zones, which is the 27 and the 28, because the two sides of the world with like 1 day off. Yeah. So 2.7 echoes to the 27th of November, and the 1828. This is pretty literal as well, because we'll be on the 2018, on the 18th, and on the 28th of the month, 18th and 28th. And so there'll be a lot of supporting evidence to the speculation on the sixth seal, and this is one of the confirmation, one of the many actually. And God's clock and calendars, God's calendars mirrors November and August at the same time, and so while it's going to be on a 28th of November 2018, it's going to be also be back on the 28th of August 2018. That's an amazing connection. So it's 828 at the same time 1828. And this it just because it's the speculation of the sixth seal and the time of the crucifixion was the reference to the sixth seal, and back in the time of the crucifixion there were two thieves, an unrepentant thief and the repentant thief stood beside Jesus. And so they were against the eighth commandment. The eighth commandment is thou shalt not steal. And Jesus is the Son of God. It's the second in the Trinity. And so it's 828. And so that's the crucifixion number. And so it means the oldest number. It's very interesting. It also has been a reference to Psalm 1828. Psalm 1828, it said about thou shalt light my candle in the darkness, and that's a transformation verse. 1828, referencing the sixth seal. And since 1828, it repeated twice in Euler's number. The crucifixion, it means that the pattern of the crucifixion repeats twice. So, one for the sixth seal, the other one for the seventh seal. And again, this is the sabbatical code behind it. And that is why it's so important to reference the speculated rapture boundary in January 2019 beyond the 10th, and the boundary also can be narrowed down 14/22nd, and just that timing referencing back to the same date of the possible time the sixth seal from the Keesley 14 and 15. And the reason that Ideas of March has been such a long day that 8:30, which is the Ideas of March, it goes for 2 days, and so that connects the 2 days together, and that makes us a pi. That's a number of pi as well. Sometimes 8:30 goes for 3 days, which is the longest day of the year. Pi is like 3.1415, and it's like grouping the dates together and just shows the numbers. And previously I mentioned in another video about the importance of pi pertaining to the transformation. So as mentioned before, that the letter E, which Euler's number is also the letter E, represents an earthquake. And since that 1828 refers to transformation, it means that at the time of an unprecedented earthquake, there's going to be transformation around that time as well, and that's how it's backing up the other events. And because in previous video there has been a questioning about whether the transformation be on the last E, be in the midst of it, the V, or the first on the E. And since the first day is going to be an unprecedented earthquake in California, and that's going to be an E, and so would trigger the 1828, and so that's supporting transformation on the first day. And the it's going, the 6 and the 7 still going to be repeating the same pattern of the 1828. And so the same pattern up to the death of Jesus, so in the same pattern, we're just repeating it twice. And just as the Euler's number, there's the 1828 repeating twice. So I did explain about the sixth seal, that's following the pattern of Jesus' crucifixion timeline, about the earth shaking, just as the earth quaked, just as the saints that went to Holy City and the veil that was torn, and the transformation. And so it's the seven's still going to repeat the same thing, because it's just referencing the same 1828. So the seventh seal, the most obvious thing would be, it's actually repeating this pattern that the saints that went into the Holy City, which is really referencing the rapture of the bride, who will ascend into heaven. And so that's the same pattern repeating during the time of the seventh seal. I do believe that this whole thing would repeats twice, just as Euler's number, that same pattern of the crucifixion occurs twice, just as there is the barley and the wheat harvest. And so there's going to be the transfiguration, the transformation, which is the first set of the 1828, and the second set would be the glorified body at the time of the rapture, and that's with the second set of the 1828. There's the earthquake, the letter E, which is associated with those numbers, those two sets of numbers. And so because we can see that there's been a capitalized if, right? The E, V, and E. This in the capitalized if, and the first E was the Noah's flood, because it was a worldwide judgment, and the second V would be the worldwide judgment of the sixth seal, because the earthquake's gonna be in a worldwide scale. And the third capitalized E is going to be the seventh seal, because the Great Tribulation will be in a worldwide scale as well. And sun destruction in the mark of the beast will be mandatory worldwide during the time of the Great Tribulation. It's going to be impacted in a global scale, and so to believe that the capital if that actually has a relationship, like those three events had the relationship between each other, and just as the earthquake and just as if is associated with the unprecedented earthquake marker back in the 22nd of May 1960. And so this earth-shaking pattern, it goes across all these three things. There's also no coincidence that the highest building in the world, which is in Dubai, named Berkeliva, and that has been the height of 828 meters, and it actually echoes back to the exponential number, the Euler's number, consisting of the 828, and linking back to Matthew 27 about the meaning of Joseph, who meant exactly behind his name that God will increase, and it just backing up the number 1828 is a number of an increase for the bride, and which is of the transformation as well. And so Euler's number is also connected with Hanukkah, the time of Hanukkah, and I do believe there is no coincidence of the pronunciation of Euler sounding as like the oil, and the pretty much related to the candle lighting of the time of Hanukkah. And back in the time of Hanukkah, there's actually there's been a time back in the relationship between 2013 and 2016. God's calendars has equalized these 2 years together. There's been a relationship between the Kislev 25 in 28th of November back then, 2013. That was on the Kislev 25, and that was the time of Hanukkah. And the time of Hanukkah is linked up with Christmas Day, because Kislev 25 is December the 25. And also it can be backed up in the also the same date on Kislev 25, and that was on the 25th of December 2016, and that shows the relationship of Hanukkah and Christmas, and they are equalized in both years, 2016 and 2013 together. And so that means that the the time of Hanukkah will be associated with the Euler's number of the 1828 on the day of the 80th of March, and it will be on a Wednesday, and because it just the 28th of November 2018 reference back to this marker back in 28th of November 2013, and so it just been linking up to the time of the 6th seal, the time of the 7th seal, the time of the crucifixion, to the day of Christmas. And that's how God's calendar's working backward in time and forward in time and connecting to the present time that we're in right now, and that's the use of God's calendars. The markers in the past were for a reason, and so they can be connected back to the present time that we're in, and that's the purpose of God's calendars. So that it's pretty much shows that it just further proves about Psalm 18:28, because Psalm 18:28 is a transformation verse that just talks about lighting his candle, and it's also about candle lighting, and Hanukkah is about the candle lights. So that just connecting everything together, connecting the candle lighting, just confirming on the time of the crucifixion, and so there has been the last with the 45:90:45, and what I've been led to by the Holy Spirit, I felt that it was the four quadrant that it was referring to, because exactly this is the 90 degrees. Egypt, representing the full of the world being in the four quadrant exactly. And because we're in 2018 right now, it goes exactly a quadrant to 9 o'clock at 45 minutes direction, but also here is also 45 minutes. The September is also at 6 o'clock, and just as the 9th month is on the 9 o'clock between Jewish and Gregorian calendar, and because of the same month, and that's why they're equalized. Both for the 9th month. That how it works, how God's clock works. So 2018 is the time on the fall of the world, as explained at the beginning. And I do believe that it just it means the fall of the world, as Egypt represents the world. The fall of the world that refers to those two sets of 1828, because the 6 and the 7 seal represented by those numbers, two sets of numbers. They're going to be judgments in a worldwide scale. And so that's just showing this as a confirmation. The entire world. So there's still a lot to come that I want to explain about the timeline, because I haven't really got into the explanation about the Rapture season and the Great Tribulation season, because right now there's still a lot going on for the timeline, and with the timeline, so we're back to the timeline. Since 2018, we'll be going back to 2015. The 4 blood moons tetrad occurred in 2014 or 2015. And there's something about it. There's something very important about the 3rd blood moon. So we go back to the April the 4th, 2015. That was the time of Passover, the 3rd blood moon, and it was the 666 that created during that time, which is the number of the mark of the beast, and definitely linked up with the time of the Great Tribulation, and that's a marker to the time of the Great Tribulation. And since the 6 and the 7 still combined, not literally but in references, that what made it interesting, because in Revelation 6 it talked about the moon turning into blood. And the sixth seal location, we suppose having that on the 27th and the 28th of November 2018, referencing back to the time on April the 4th, 2015 on the third blood moon marker. That would be definitely a relationship, because in Revelation 6 it talked about at the time of the sixth seal that the sun would turn black and moon into blood. And so that actually telling us to refer back to the date in the 4th and April 2015, and the reason that it was the 666, because between blood moon and blood moon there was a 6 months interval. And that's so when we're on to the third blood moon, it was the 3rd of the 6th. And even this year, 2018, it's also associated with the mark of the beast, because going back to 2015, and that was the 3 and the 6 drew Savannah and June connection on the God's clock. In 2018 itself is also, because 3 times 6 is 18, 2018, and so it's so important to see that what occurred back then in 2015 are the blood moons, even though it came and passed and it seemed like nothing occurred, but it was just one of those major markers to reference to the present time that we're in right now. And so that's definitely connecting to this for the sixth seal, because the sixth seal is associated, as mentioned in Revelation 6, about the moon turning into blood. And especially because right now 2018 is back to 2015 by the method of God's clock. But one more thing is in the 7th seal, since all those numbers shows that the crucifixion pattern will repeat 1828 twice, and so even though on this day of the Ides of March it's it's going to be a possible sixth seal, but it's also a reference to the 7th seal. And the reference for the 7th seal that's amazing, because I can see right now that there is dual meanings behind the 3rd blood moon back then in April the 4th, 2015. Is that was the 3 of the 6 and mark of the beast, representing the Great Tribulation. And it just shows about the the time of the seventh seal, which is the rapture, is also going to be the Great Tribulation. It's connected back to that 666 number, and so that's very important to notice, and definitely has backed up by some calculation done in Genesis 7, and which will be explained later on. Not sure whether it's going to be this in this video, but there's something about in Revelation, in Genesis 7, that has confirmed about this 666 also being associated. Well, this is the reference, but the literal boundary being in 2019, and Genesis 7 echoes to both the years 2016 and 2019. There's a relationship between those 2 years together. Cause that's a method of God's calendars, and so definitely what's coming ahead, it's just so important for us to stay ready, because there isn't a lot of time right now. Time is getting shorter and shorter over time, and so it's just so important to stay constantly in prayer and in complete repentance and surrender, especially for what is coming ahead. It's going to be some really unprecedented things to come, and I'm just completely convinced, without a doubt, that the signs are all pointing to this, was starting from this year of 2018. And again, it seems like there's just so many markers everywhere, and that's why it's just so important that we're going by the sabbatical procedure, so we're getting into the right direction. Even though it seems like every direction is as important, but the sabbatical code is always the direction to take when using the God's clock and calendars. So this, so I also wanted to go over the 7 days of creation, the timeline of crucifixion, the timeline surrounding the 6 seal pattern, and 3 of these timelines, it further confirmed of the mirroring between each other, and they just it just has to be more about patterns and mirrorings of the past, and so this is further confirming, like, after we've done the sabbatical procedure, there's also more confirmation, which is true the days of the week that has seen the same with the 7 days of creation, has seen the same with the crucifixion, and also the same as I believe for the coming time ahead. And the reason I'm saying this, because the first day of creation, was on the Sunday, and so it lasted for 7 days. The 4th day of creation was on a Wednesday, and the 7th day of creation was on a Saturday. And so the first day of the week was on a Sunday. The last day of the week was on a Saturday. And that days of the week echoes to the crucifixion as well, the timeline of crucifixion, because the crucifixion occurred on a Wednesday. It was on a Wednesday, and 3 days before, because of the 3 hours pattern as well, it just goes 3 days before, was referring to like a Sunday. That's a pretty subtle reference. And then the 3 days in burial, at the end of that, the Sabbath day. So just the same pattern. And that was on the Sun 14 on the Wednesday, crucifixion. And so the entire timeline is running from the Sun 11 and the Sun 17. The first day was referring to the Sunday, and the 4th day would be the Wednesday, and the 7th day and the Saturday, and it's the same with the coming time ahead of the 6th seal. The timeline on the 28th of November 2018 will be on a Wednesday, which would be the Feast of the 6 and 7 day rule, would be on the 4th day as well. That, and the Feast of it will be the Wednesday, so just mirroring back to a pattern of the 7 days of creation and the timeline of the crucifixion. So being on a Wednesday as well. The ideas of March, the sixth seal that's following the pattern of the crucifixion of Christ. And so being on the 1st of December 2018 will be on a Saturday, and that's going to just mimicking the end of Saturday in the 7 days of creation, which is the same as the end of the 3 days of burial of the Sabbath. And so that's also counting 3 days before in a Sunday, and being on the 25th of November 2018, it's going to be on a Sunday. So these three timelines, they echo each other, and being on the first day of creation, it was the light and the darkness. It was the creation of the light and the darkness, and that was the first day, the light. And the fourth day, it was the sun, moon, and the stars that created the field of sky. And the last day was the day of rest, and there were only 6 days of work, and the 7th day was set apart, and God rested himself, and so it was 6 days, the creation actually. The 7th day, it was completed. So the creation was actually just 6 days. But then the 7th day included was the day of rest. And so that's again the sabbatical code of the 6th and the 7th day. That's very important to reference this sabbatical timeline to the coming time ahead. And it just as in the the crucifixion timeline, and the 1st and the 4th and the 7th day, the 3 hours eclipse on the 1st, the crucifixion, and the 4th resurrection on the 7th. And so this pattern it just repeats in here of the timeline surrounding the 6th seal. Because, well, first of all, the first day was about the light, and Psalm 18:28 it had seen about candle lighting, and the light it had seen a transformation verse. Psalm 18:28, and then the stars in the sky on the 4th day and Wednesday. That was that actually echoes to the sixth seal. The sixth seal is also about the sun and the moon and the stars. Back then, on the fourth day of creation, it was also the sun and the moon and the stars. And the sun, moon, and stars, describing about the sixth seal is that the sun will turn black, the moon turn to blood, the stars will fall from heaven. Just definitely just following the same pattern. And the suburb here, because of the, as I mentioned before about the code Eve, it just loops back in reverse. If that makes sense, to the first day. And so the crucifixion, the pattern of the sixth seal, the resurrection, the pattern of the end of the 3 days of darkness, the 3 hours eclipse, the pattern of the three days of warning, 3 days before the Ides of March, and the sixth seal, and there's something about being on a Kislev 11 and a Kislev 17, which is equally seen as September 11 of 17. That's the 9/11 time frame, and it echoes to also 11 to 17. That's the same number, 11 to 17 of Nisan. And how it is equalized because of the Misalama and the calendars, there is a possible way, but I'm not going to that place because right now just almost an hour long, but I just want to say that here it's also Nisan 11 to 17 is 11 to 17, and just as Kislev the 11 to 17, it's also the same thing. Well, 2 different time zones. This one 11 to 17, and another time zone is 12 to 18, so 1 day off. Now, here it is a bit different, but it can also be equalized, being on Elul 25 on the Sunday back on the 7 days creation. First day of creation was Elul 25. Elul 25 is equalized with December the 25 in God's calendar, which is the day of Christmas. And so that's how I can automatically convert it into my mind of Elul 25, and that just exactly has been echoing to the 25th of November 2018. Because of the first 2-minute delay, it can also be seen as the day of Christmas. The 24th and the 25th of November in 2018 can also be seen as the day of Christmas. The 24th and the 25th of December. And just as Elul 25, that goes sunset to the day before. And that just really interesting. It just goes by the same date, 25th, and also the same date to the 28th. Elul 28, it's actually Elul 28, it actually reference to December 28. Just goes to December 28. That of 2018 over here. Actually 2 days, so Tibet 13 and 14 together around that time. And there's importance about this that I'm going to go through in another video of these substations and core stations, and but just yeah, the dates, the references has been made possible in God's calendars that can be referenced together. And so what was in the past and what will it be in the future can be connected in the present time. And that's just how it worked with Elu 25 from the first day of creation. That was how it worked with the same thing with Nissan 14 and the surrounding timeline of the crucifixion and the time of the sixth seal and the surrounding events to come, from Key Sleep 11 and Key Sleep 17 in one time zone, and Key Sleep 12 to Key Sleep 18 in another time zone. And so there's a lot more to come, and I will start about the substation and core station in the next video. There are two types, main types, that was found in God's calendars. So one, the substations, so the referencing to this core reference would be the 9/11 67-day rule. Second type would be the 729, that's what I call the 729 station. So that's going to be further explored in the next video. So I'm going to stop right here. Thank you.